everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Katie and I am back with another scrapbooking process tutorial. So today I drew inspiration from the May-June Close to My Heart catalog on page 30. So this is the actual close-up of the layout that I'm going to recreate. I am making mine in a 12 by 12 format, and this I believe is in an 8.5 by 11. So what I did is I cut the main square, well, it's the 12 by 12 paper, and then I just went down 1/4 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch. So the dark green is the 12 by 12, then the lighter green is 1/4 of an inch less, and then the white is 1/4 of an inch less than that. So then the strips that go on the side, which are all kind of right here, I just cut a sliver less than what the white page was. And I believe the white page was 11 inches, so I just cut a little less than that 11 inches. The paper pack that I am using is actually the seasonal mix-ins that Close to My Heart comes out with every catalog. They have two main paper packs, which I have already made process videos on. And then they come out with this really cute set of 6 sheets that are double-sided. You get one of each, and they coordinate with both of the main paper packs. The stamp set that I'm using is called A Million Little Things, and this is just kind of a close-up of it. And you can see that I have already stamped the images on the background already, and I did that kind of just to save some time because I will be coloring them in with some shimmer markers. So like I said, what I did was just cut these strips right here. This is the branding strip or the zip strip that was on one of the seasonal mix-ins, and I just cut it a sliver less than what the 11-inch mark. So I'm just going to go ahead and get the rest of it glued down. So this piece right here is actually the glimmer or shimmer glitter paper, I believe is what it's called. So this is in the color Julep. So this is the current color of the year. Every year when Close to My Heart comes out with their annual catalog, they actually, oh, this goes on the other side on theirs. That's okay. I actually like it there. They come out with a color of the year, and this year's was Julep, and it will actually retire the end of July, and in August we'll be getting a new color. So on the layout, I actually did this a little backwards, but it is a-okay. So on the layout, I don't know if you can see that little bit of glitter paper is actually behind that pattern paper, but I'm going to put it over on this side. And then this is the next sheet, which I cut out as 2.5 inches wide, and then again, just a slightly smaller cut less than the 11-inch mark. So then this sheet kind of crosses over it a little bit like that. This is 2 inches. Again, just a little bit less than the 11 mark. My ATG gun just does not want to work today. So I'm just going to, again, as always, just kind of eyeball it. Make sure it's centered. Again, you can always use like a T-ruler or even the Versamat to get things lined up perfectly, but I'm just all about eyeballing everything. So that is that sheet. And then there is this pink sheet that is going to be tucked right behind it. So it'll go right there. And that little bit of pink kind of pops through. And I actually think I like the darker side better, so I'm going to go ahead and get it glued down on the lighter side, because remember, all of Close to My Heart's paper is actually double-sided. I'm going to turn it this way just so it's a little easier for me to tuck behind it. And I'm not trying to get it to go under, just behind it. And that was cut 1/4 of an inch wide as well. So that is the main side of that layout. And then what I did prior was actually stamped this flower and cut it out. And I'm not sure if any of the glitter is getting picked up, but I did color this with the shimmer markers. So the main part of the layout does have a photo right about here and here, and I cut mine out with the background being 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. And then the other photo was right over here, and this whole photo, or this whole flower, did show. So what I'm going to do right now is actually color in these two flowers. So what I'm going to be doing is using the shimmer markers, and these are really nice, or shimmer pens, and these are really nice because they add a little bit of color without too much saturation. It kind of almost gives a watercolor effect, but then you also get a little bit of shimmer because there is glitter built right into it. So I'm just using very light pressure and using this green first to kind of just color in the leaves on these flowers. And I did the same thing, same color pattern with the flower that I stamped prior and cut out. And just making sure I get the stem as well. And then this one over here, I'm actually going to try to get this to zoom in without too much of a shadow. And same thing, just kind of taking the brush and going over the stem. Just a nice, light, gentle hand. I'm not trying to get too much saturation or too much color. I kind of like the look of the watercolor effect. And this would be a really pretty stamp set to actually use the watercolors on, because we do also have watercolor pencils and then actual watercolor. So then I am just going to right now use these two shades of pink. So I'm just going to use the darker kind of for the inside, just kind of going around those petals and then in that big part right there, just to kind of add a little bit of extra color and dimension to these. And by no means am I a professional colorist. I just am trying to add a little bit extra dimension and different shades and tones to these flowers. And again, I just like using these brushes just because it adds a little bit of glimmer. Now, if you wanted the glimmer but didn't necessarily want to use these brushes, again, you could use the watercolor pencils or the watercolor set and then use the clear shimmer brush right on over it. So the same thing with this flower up here. I'm just going to color parts of it a little darker. I'm just kind of going off of the color scheme that they have. The areas that they have colored darker, I'm just going to kind of go with that as well. Again, not a professional color, but just wanted to make sure I added some dimension to this. And it's just slightly darker, so it just gives a slight contrast. Go ahead with the lighter pink and just kind of go over the rest of it. And what I also like about these shimmer brushes is, again, you don't have to be a professional colorer. You do have to, kind of stick into the lines, but if you go a little bit out, it's no big deal. And the ink that I use, the reason it's not bleeding into the paper, because this is not watercolor paper, I used the intense black ink to stamp it out. And this is really good for if you're going to color with the shimmer brushes or if you're going to use any kind of watercolor as well. So then I'm just going to go ahead and get these two leaves. There we go. Bring the camera back up to kind of finish the rest of this. So the other stamp sets is one right here and one right up there. So I'm going to, again, use the intense black. Go ahead and get this inked up. And I just went and grabbed a different, I'm going to need actually a bigger black. Let's go ahead and get that on there. Like I've done before, and it sounds really weird, but it is good to season your stamps. So if you just rub it on your arm, it kind of just uses the oil off of your skin and kind of breaks it down. But I also just like to be extra careful. I do just do a couple of practice rounds just to make sure that the stamp is doing a crisp image, especially when I'm stamping on a layout. You know, a card you can kind of start over again or cut out a piece again, but on a layout it makes it a little more difficult. So there, that is much better, more crisp. So this sentiment is down over in the corner, and this will kind of help me determine where the photos are going to go as well, because I want the photos to be around the sentiments. I want to be able to see the sentiment. So there we go, right there. And then there's some really cute kind of splotched effects on here as well that you can kind of see. And the stamp set actually comes with them, so it's kind of like paint splatter, so that's really fun. So you don't have to worry about making a big mess or anything with any kind of paint or even the glitter brush or shimmer brushes, which I've done before. It is kind of nice because it is all ready for you. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a few in a few areas. And I am using the Pixie ink to make that color. So just doing a few little splatters in the areas that I can see. Looks like there's one right over here too. So then what I'm going to do is start putting the rest of it together. Since I have this focal point sentiment down here, I should be able to put the photos on there now and then finish off the rest of it with the other stamping, because there's these cute little splotches kind of throughout the layout. So I like that placement. I think I'm going to go ahead. This flower right here that I cut out, it's kind of tucked over here behind this picture. So I'm going to go ahead and get that glued down, and I'm going to use some liquid adhesive just because I am putting it on some shimmer paper, and the liquid adhesive seems to work better when gluing things to the glitter paper. Go ahead and get that laid down. And then use the ATG again. To glue this, making sure I'm not covering that sentiment. So I got that one down. I will use this one. Get that glued down. And you can see I did do my layout just a little bit different. Their flower, different parts of the flower is shown, but I do like the placement, so I'm just going to go ahead and get this all glued down. And again, like I've said in other videos, I'm all about just taking inspiration and kind of adding a little bit of your own twist to it. Because I believe on their layout, they use the back side of this green paper, and I am using the more brighter side, just to kind of add a little difference to it and bring out some brightness on this side of the page. So then there is a pink strip, which this is also just a zip strip, that looks to be on top of there. So I'll go ahead and get that laid down. And it's just, again, 1/4 of an inch. And then I believe I cut it by 3. And then they also have some thread, some of this silver thread. So this embellishing thread kind of just twined around in like a circle. And I know I've done this before. If you look at it, you can see there's some like kinks in it. If you just go like you would ribbon for like Christmas or birthday presents, and just go with that, it kind of gets out all the kinks. So then I'm just going to kind of twist it around my fingers. Get that cut off. Just kind of bunch it. And then I will be using a glue dot to kind of just put it all together and then get it adhered to the back. So it looks kind of like a big old mess, but I promise it will look really cute once you get it tucked behind. And then it just adds, you know, a little bit of that silver element up there. And then, let's see here, the other splatters. I'm going to do a few more of those and then the other sentiment. So it does look like there's a splatter. Actually, I'm going to turn it this way. There's one right there. There is one that will be behind the wording. And then I think I'm actually going to lift this up a little bit, just so only a few of them kind of show right there. There. And then again, with the intense black ink and that other sentiment, I'm going to go ahead and get that stamped on. Same thing, putting it on the black and kind of just pressing it on my skin just to kind of get it all seasoned. Then I'm going to ink it up. And do a practice run on some paper. And that looks pretty good. So go ahead and get that back. Ink that up again. And just go straight down, straight up. There we go. So there, that element is right there. And then there are a few pieces right here that are just 1/4 of an inch wide by, I think I cut them about an inch. And I'm just going to go ahead and dovetail these. And they go behind this photo right down here. So what I do to dovetail is I just cut in the middle and then I just cut both sides. And that's how I do a dovetail. So same thing, it's probably easier to see on this paper. Right down the middle and then both the edges. So go ahead and get those little extras off the piece or off the layout. I'm just gonna put one there, one here, just a little bit above that sentiment. And they do have, looks like they have 3 pieces, but I, again, just changing it up just a little bit, just kind of add my little touch to it. I want that a little shorter, so there we go. What else elements do I want to bring into here? And then it looks like there is some like stitching almost up on the corner. So I'm just going to use a black pen and maybe even the edge of one of the blocks, just so I can make sure I have straight lines. And it is a cute little touch that they added to it. So what I'm doing is just using the block kind of as a guide. I kind of want to use the other side because the other side is kind of more of a sharp edge. So I will just go ahead and use this black pen and just make these little dashes, almost like a sewing effect. And I'm sure I have a stamp that actually makes this mark, but I figured might as well just go ahead and freehand it. So same thing right here, just lining it up and just taking the pen and making these little dashes. I think I need one more. There you go. So right there on the edge. And then there are some sequins, which I absolutely love sequins. I know I've shown this before. This is kind of how I store my sequins. And these are all from close to my heart. The containers from Recollections, but it is definitely a fun little addition to any kind of scrapbook or cards or any kind of paper project that you are creating. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit of glue and get a few of these glued down. And I'm just going to be using these silver ones today. I do have the Julep ones as well, but I'm just going to go ahead and use the ones that all came in the silver pack, which come in kind of different tones of silver and then different sizes as well. So again, just using some liquid adhesive, getting them glued down. There's a few up here as well. I'm just making sure I'm getting a variety of sizes. And silver glitter gems would be really cute on this too. They are actually self-adhesive, so their backing already has the adhesive on it. So that might actually be an easier option for people. But I'm just going to go ahead and currently use what I started with, just to get that little added touch of glimmer onto the page. And then the silver kind of ties in over here with the silver thread as well, which it looks like there are a few over by the silver thread. And I know I've said this before, adding balance to the page, and your eye is naturally drawn to odd numbers. It's just the way decoration and art kind of flows, the way I guess human eyes work. We are just naturally drawn to odd numbers when it comes to decorating. So same thing goes with your house, your home decor kind of a thing, or any kind of crafting project. It is best to create a visual triangle and then also decorate in odds. So one more, I'm just going to kind of glue that right over here. And again, this glue will dry clear, so it'll look really nice when it is completely dry, because right now it's kind of showing up a little on the white side. But here is my page from inspiration from the catalog. So again, here is just kind of a close-up. Mine is, again, just a little different. I did, I used the shimmer brushes instead of the paint, and I kind of changed up just an absolute little bit the way these two were laid out. I believe they had them opposite and they didn't show as much of that glitter paper, but I love that glitter paper and I just want to make sure it is seen. And then again, here is the inspiration, and this is found on page 30 of the May-June catalog. So thank you so much for joining me again for another tutorial. I hope you guys all have a great day, and I'll see you next time.